At the moment, remember, all of this is happening on a day when history was created in the state of Jammu and Kashmir as the Modi government implemented its biggest move in a way on the Kashmir issue. After days of furious speculation and build-up, Home Minister Amit Shah arrived this morning to Parliament and told Parliament that he was revoking Article 370, which gave the state special status and dividing Kashmir into two union territories, Ladakh and J&K. Take a look at how this big day unfolded.
Monday began with an anticipation of something tumultuous happening in Jammu and Kashmir. From morning, 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, the official residence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, was the centre of all action. First, the Prime Minister chaired a closed-door meeting with Home Minister Amit Shah and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. That lasted 50 minutes. This was followed by another one with Ravi Shankar Prasad, the Law Minister. Those were the first hints. It had something to do with Article 370 and Article 35A. At 9:26 a.m., the Cabinet Committee on Security met, again at the Prime Minister's residence, ostensibly to take stock of the situation in Kashmir, where prohibitory orders and a total clampdown on communication are in force. The CCS meet over, Amit Shah drove down to Parliament. The usually reticent leader smiled and posed for cameras. The drama had only begun.
I call upon Sri Amit Shah to move for review to introduce Jammu Kashmir Reservation Second Amendment Bill.
Amid opposition protest, Amit Shah rose to speak.
राष्ट्रपति संसद की सिफारिश पर यह घोषणा करते हैं कि यह दिनांक जिस दिन भारत के राष्ट्रपति द्वारा इस घोषणा पर हस्ताक्षर किए जाएंगे और इसे सरकारी गैजेट में प्रकाशित किया जाएगा, उस दिन से अनुच्छेद 370 के सभी खंड लागू नहीं होंगे, सिवाय खंड 1 के नामक तदनुसार पढ़ा जाएगा.
At 11:14 a.m., the 70-year-old historic provision in Constitution, which was added after Maharaja Hari Singh signed the Instrument of Accession in October 1947, was scrapped in just 50 seconds. Jammu and Kashmir, once the bill is passed by Parliament, will become a union territory with legislature. Ladakh will become a union territory without legislature. All Indian laws will now be applicable in the newly carved union territories. The move put the opposition on a sticky wicket. One by one, regional parties announced their support to the Modi government, and the Congress was left fighting a lonely battle.
शर्म की बात है कि जम्मू कश्मीर को आपने नॉन एंटिटी बना दिया, एक लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर बना के.
The bigger challenge for the government is in the valley, where there is a security clampdown. Winning the confidence of people there is key to the success of Prime Minister Modi's Mission Kashmir. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's widen that. Amit Malviya, spokesperson BJP, Dushyant Dave, senior advocate, Supreme Court, Manoj Joshi, who's tracked Kashmir for years, Samir Kaul, national conference with us. In the studios, Iftikhar Hussain Misgar, political analyst with us, and Irfan Hafiz Lone, who is someone who's been a lawyer and activist. And also joining me, Prerna Kaul Mishra from India Today, and someone who has property in Jammu and Kashmir. And Prerna, I want to start with you because give me the human face of what has happened today. Kashmiri pundits like yourself are celebrating. I saw tears in your eyes. Why are you celebrating? Do you believe that you can actually go tomorrow to the valley? Vivek Tanka, the MP in Parliament, the only Kashmiri Pandit MP, said, how is this actually going to benefit me? So how will it actually benefit someone like you hope?
Rajdeep, I've never stopped going to the valley because that's my home. So it isn't as if this decision is really going to change anything much in my life, because I have a house there, I go there often. What it will change is what 70 years of special status could not change for the commoner in Kashmir.
Give me an example in your case.
Well, Where are the hospitals? I go there every summer. I stay there for months. There is no good hospital for me to take my child. Unfortunately, there is an eventuality. There are no good schools. There are neighbors around me who are always thinking what are they going to do with their kids because the schools are always closed. What has this special status given Kashmir? That is my only question. We have lived with it for 70 years, but can you explain to me what has it given to the Kashmiri commoner? Yes, it has filled the coffers of multiple families who have been in power in Kashmir. They have not been working for Kashmir. The chief ministers have not been working for Kashmir. Right. So if there is a wire media, if there is an experiment that needs to be done, why are we so much against it?
Okay, that's an interesting way of putting it. It's an experiment that you see needs to be done because there's been a growing sense of frustration that nothing seems to have really changed on the ground. But Amit Malviya, you heard P. Chidambaram saying warning of catastrophic consequences. Are you playing with fire? Today you believe muscular nationalism is working, but are you playing with fire, Mr. Malviya? This could erupt into a tinderbox. I heard an MP today in Parliament say you are creating a Palestine on the border.
You know, Rajdeep, you had Mr. Chidambaram on your program for a very long time. The only question you should have asked him that in his several stints as Home Minister, why is it that he could not solve the Kashmir issue? And perhaps that would have summed the problem with what we've done for the last 7 decades. You have an option. You can romanticize conflict and play up the victimhood narrative, or you could look at the new dawn that this reorganization and abrogation of 370 promises. I think it's about time that we do things differently, because you can't achieve different results by doing more of the same. This particular legislation, in effect, is actually a boon for the average Kashmiri who has been denied the constitutional provisions that are available to rest of the Indians. And the only people who benefited from this were a handful of political families. Secondly, this provision did not allow democracy to take root. For example, you did not have Panchayati Raj system in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It is only now, under the President's rule, that the Panchayat polls were done, and 40,000 Panchayat have elected punches who've come up in different locations. They're working directly for the welfare of their people, of their villages. The lady who spoke before me has actually highlighted the problem that exists in the valley. She probably did not speak about the gender injustice that exists, wherein if a woman of the state marries somebody outside, she can't bequeath her property to her progenies, and that's absolutely unfair. So there are a lot of problems that 370 brings in. And why do we need to have this? This special provision was not meant to stay forever. In fact, in 1964, the Parliament debated this. Every politician from the valley, in fact, most of them supported it. It was the Congress that developed cold feet, and we sort of never went back on it. So there is history, and it's about time we set the record straight and do things differently, because we can't afford to have a border state in perennial flux where people don't get what they truly deserve, because after all, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the youth of Jammu and Kashmir is as aspirational as anyone else is.
Okay.
And by the way, who are these people? The separatists, the muftis and the Abdullahs. What have they done for the state? These separatists send their children to London and wherever to study, and it's the locals who are used as cannon fodder. That realization will dawn very soon on the people. In the next 5 years, we'll ensure that development happens and a paradigm shift is brought in the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Let me then take that to you, Samir Kaul, since there have been more than one references by Amit Malviya to the ruling class in your state, the muftis and the Abdullahs. You're with the National Conference, that power was monopolized by a few families. And it's those families today which are feeling the heat. According to Amit Malviya, this is the beginning of a new dawn in Kashmir. Other experiments have been tried. They failed. It's time now to break the status quo.
Well, you know, Rajdeep, just to take you, I've heard all the people talk, and I'm thankful for being here this evening. The narrative that the BJP has generated in this country for the last few years, it starts with that. The narrative was that all Kashmiris are Pakistani, they are anti-national, and therefore the consequences of that, you saw them being, students being hounded out, people being beaten up, not being given things. So that was carefully created because Kashmir became a chessboard not only for till now, Kashmir had been a chessboard only for Pakistan's politics. But now we've seen that it has become a chessboard for national politics, and BJP has used it evidently in the last election, whatever happened on the borders, the Balakot, whatever else, demonizing of the Kashmiris. So that narrative was built up, and it was centered around the families, the Abdullahs. I want to ask them that had there been no Abdullahs, I don't know whether they know their contemporary political history, there would have been no Kashmir at all, because it was Sheikh Abdullah and primarily the National Conference, because PDP and all were then later on created to level things out and to break the hold of National Conference on the people. So they were, that was what they did. They brought Kashmir, they tried their best to get Kashmir into the national mainstream, and had it not been for these there has been conflict for a long time, and I have a bone to pick with Mr. Chidambaram also, who came here before that, quite eloquent he was, but I must tell him that during his tenure as the Home Minister, if you remember the Dilip Padgaonkar and the commission, you know, where Radha Kumar and all came, they spent a lot of time, and he truly gave you the results of that, saying that it was the hollowing out of the conditions of accession that led to turmoil, and that led to angst in the Kashmiri population, and that led to alienation over a period of time. But while he was the Home Minister, the UP also did nothing.
Okay.
And they had the same input before that by the Rangarajan Commission. They had the same input by the Manmohan Singh roundtables. So they did nothing.
Let's focus on today,
one last point.
Yes.
One last point. That, you know, Amit ji was talking about, yes, but Amit ji was talking about the people, the democratic aspirations of the youth of Kashmir. By doing whatever they did today, they landed them right into the separatist camp. They denied them.
That is the real danger, which I'm going to come to in a moment. Has the government landed people? Just a minute, Mr. Kaul. Dr. Kaul, has the government
handed them right into the lap of the separatists?
Okay, that is your concern. I think Mr. Chidambaram also voiced that concern. Dushyant Dave, the law itself. Do you believe what was done today was constitutionally legal? That at 11 a.m. in the morning, Amit Shah comes to Parliament, does not circulate the bill that promises to reorganize Jammu and Kashmir. The original bill was on reservation, suddenly change it to add the bill on reorganization, then announce the scrapping of 370 through a presidential notification. Is it constitutionally immoral what has happened?
First and foremost, Rajdeep, my deep gratitude to you for turning to me after 45 minutes. So that's very kind of you. Let me respond to your question. You know, there is no doubt about the fact that what the government today has done is a fraud on the constitution. There is, you know, you have to understand one thing, that the assembly in Jammu and Kashmir was dissolved. If it is dissolved, then the governor cannot really say, nor can the parliament assume that it is, you know, the assembly of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and therefore it can ratify. Because unless and until these actions were ratified by the state legislative assembly, they could not have been done either by virtue of Article 370 or by any other provision, you know, including reorganization of the states under Articles 2 and 3 of the Constitution. So there is no doubt about the fact that what has happened today is really wrong. Secondly, the the accession instrument followed by a very clear understanding in Article 370 that a constituent assembly will be created in Jammu and Kashmir, and that will frame the constitution for Jammu and Kashmir. That took place, and in 1956 Jammu and Kashmir had a constitution of its own. Now the power under 370 sub-article 3 is a very I would say temporary power that the president had to exercise during that period. Now today, after 75 years, president certainly cannot fall back on Article 370 3 and do what it has been done.
But Article 370 now, was not intended to be in perpetuity either.
Under the constitution you have power.
Mr. Dave, Article 370 was not intended to be in perpetuity either.
You know, Kashmir is a very... I agree. In fact, it is titled as temporary provision.
Yes.
That's not the issue. Issue is that provision was translated into constitution by Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. So that constitution therefore binds the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and therefore you cannot divide the state without really scrapping that constitution, which only the state assembly could have done. Secondly, what is most important is that under Article 368, Parliament has power to amend the constitution, repeal any provision, etc., etc. But there is one caveat which Supreme Court has accepted in scatena judgments now, that the basic structure cannot be changed. Now, from the point of view of people of Kashmir, this is a change of basic structure. It may not be from the perspective of the nation, that we all look at 370 as an isolated provision. But from the people of Jammu and Kashmir who really entered into the accession agreement, this is really striking at the basic structure of
So you're saying there will be a legal challenge?
If that be so, the question will have to be seriously determined.
Okay. You seem to suggest, therefore, the Supreme Court, this could be subject to a legal challenge.
It is a legal challenge.
Okay. Manoj Joshi, as someone who has tracked Kashmir for years, do you believe this is a game changer or a gamble? The original question I posed.
Well, it certainly is a gamble. It's a leap in the dark. I'm not sure whether even the authors of this move are very clear about where they're going to land up. But you see, in politics,
such leaps often take place, and such gambles often take place.
What's
Now,
the risk?
point is,
what's the risk? Do you really go along with what Mr. Chidambaram said, Mr. Joshi, that the risk is that this could have unintended consequences? It could result in a further increase in violence in the valley. Do you believe that alienation will increase further?
short term, if today yesterday there were 70% of the people were alienated.
Yesterday there were 70% of the people were alienated. Today you probably have 100% of the people in the valley who are alienated. Now the point is, and I think Mr. Chidambaram referred to this, strangely enough, so-called terrorism or militancy has actually been declining in the valley.
So, that's an interesting perspective. That's an interesting...
and then it's picked up again.
Right. I'm having a bit of a problem with your audio, but Amit Malviya, quickly respond to that, and then I want to go to my guests in the studio. That this could have unintended consequences, or dare I say, that the government is, this is a shot in the dark. It could result in even greater alienation. The manner in which it was done, it's the manner, curfew, leaders under house arrest, all communication stopped. The people of Kashmir, whose future is being decided, have no stake in this debate, it appears. Surely they had a stake in this debate, Mr. Malviya.
I quite find it amusing when people say there is 100% of alienation because of what's happened. What is the basis of their assumption? Well, I'll leave that to your viewers. But Rajdeep, any action will have consequences. And the government of the day, in its assessment, has now made this decision, and we all together have to go through it. We are in it as India. We are in it as people of Jammu and Kashmir. We are in it
Were the people of Jammu and Kashmir consulted? Were the people of the Kashmir Valley who stand, when you change a state, you don't even have elections in the state, you're going to get a governor now to ratify this. What happens to the fact that a state has become a union territory? According to Chidambaram, you've dismembered a state.
Okay, Rajdeep, listen to me patiently, right? And please extend me the same courtesies like you do to your other guests. We never had panchayat elections in Jammu and Kashmir. It happened under the President's rule. The democratically elected chief ministers of the state repeatedly said that local body elections would mean a lot of bloodshed. Was there any bloodshed? In fact, the elections in J&K were more peaceful than the elections in Bengal. So therefore, those who make sweeping statements and generalizations are obviously narratives, prisoners of a narrative. But we will have to move forward. We will have to find newer ways of doing things differently. We'll have to ensure that we do things that will take the people of the state into the mainstream.
And the
Home Minister has very categorically said that the provision of Jammu and Kashmir being a union territory is not a permanent one, and when situation comes back to normal, we are quite open to the idea of making it a full-fledged state. But difficult situations, extraordinary situations require extraordinary measures,
situations
and that is what we've done.
Point taken, but you know, we still haven't understood why it was necessary to make it a union territory. But let me get my guests who've been patiently listening. 3 Kashmiris are in the studio. Prerna Kaur Mishra and my other 2 guests are Kashmiris. You tell me, sir, as someone who's seen to sort of espouse this narrative of alienation, is this actually going to increase alienation on the ground?
See, Rajdeep, let me put it in this way. Kashmir has a political history. We have been betrayed. The psyche of Kashmiris, you must understand. We have been politically betrayed time and again. And today, unfortunately, we have been constitutionally betrayed. Kashmiris, see, Rajdeep.
No, when you say you've been constitutionally betrayed, I could turn around and say that over the last 29 years, the people of Kashmir have been let down by their politicians, by the jihadists, by Pakistan, which has sent in terrorists. At the end of the day, what does a country do? I mean, who are you? When you say constitutionally betrayed, who has been constitutionally betrayed? Has Prerna Kaur Mishra also not been constitutionally betrayed when she can't get her property in Kashmir?
And today, what government did, Rajdeep? Government, see, the constituency of Hurriyat is same. The constituency of Pakistan supporters are same. If you shook the constituency, you shook the constituency of mainstream today.
You have shaken the constituency of mainstream. That's what your fear is. That therefore you have widened the alienation. Now you tell me, Mr. Lone, because you've been also patiently and I've been hearing you through the day. Do you believe that this is constitutionally an immoral act? And is that what is the fear? Or is the fear that somewhere down the line, this could change the status quo? How long can you remain? This was not a permanent provision.
See, Rajdeep, we must understand right now in the rest of the country, there is a cheer, they are celebrating it, but Kashmir is filled with shock and horror. And definitely, I must say, it's a constitutional fraud. Let me tell you very briefly, in 1947, an instrument of accession was signed. It was attached with a letter by the Governor General of India that no sooner the normalcy returns in the valley, the will of the people will be asserted. Later on, till yesterday, the government stand was the will of the people was expressed by the Constituent Assembly by ratifying the instrument of accession. And Mr. Rajdeep, no rocket science involved. This 370 gives recognition to instrument of accession, because in the rest of the other country, the other princely states signed the instrument of supplementary instrument of accession. J&K didn't, only state which didn't. I am concluding. This 370 provides that the parliament shall have jurisdiction only over the subjects specified in the instrument of accession, and it's a self-contained provision. It provides only the Constituent Assembly can abrogate it, the recommendation, which died in 1956. So this brazen violation of the natural justice, we are not given opportunity of being heard. So this amounts to a constitutional fraud.
You don't think this offers an alternative? The BJP point that I've raised with other guests, that they believe this will result in investments in Kashmir. This will bridge the divide between both of you. Don't accept that.
This is falsehood. You're talking about the women's rights. The state High Court has passed a judgment. Dr. Sushila Shivani, madam, is aware about, I'm sure she will be aware about that very landmark judgment, that a female woman of J&K marrying a non-state subject doesn't lose its right. This is the judgment of the which is very much intact. So you're spreading a falsehood. This 370 was not a impediment in the development. It was a Kashmir is a political problem.
Okay, it's a political problem. And that really becomes at the centrality
and
of it.
And this was the last nail in the coffin.
Okay, this is the last nail in the coffin. But Prerna Kaur Mishra, as someone who goes back, who has this emotional link, you see it as a political problem as the other guests do? Or do you see it as a personal issue that you believe that this is about humans, it's about citizens?
It is not a personal issue, and that is why when I'm talking to you here, I'm not talking as a Kashmiri Pandit. I'm talking on behalf of the people of Kashmir, because I go there and I see serpentine lines for 1 liter of kerosene in in winter time.
But there's the development issue and there's the political issue.
So the commoner has not benefited from the special status. I want to give the commoner a chance in Kashmir to rise up to the rest of the Indian standards.
How it was the impediment? Tell
investment.
me. Who
is investing?
Right
Who is investing there? There are no jobs.
It's under the central control. The anti-corruption laws are very much available there.
By the way, I'm hearing everybody mention that why does it have to be a union territory and why does it have to be, a governor? A state, a sensitive state like Kashmir, where defense has to be fortified. We haven't seen J&K being able to handle the situation for 70 years now. You need central intervention. The defense has to be with center.
What about the aspirations of the people?
No, who's talking on behalf of the aspirations? Who's talking on the behalf of a commoner
Kashmir
here?
is under curfew.
No.
Yes.
And if it was not under curfew, there would have been a riot because people would have gone out.
Very quickly, sir.
Yes, sir. In my point of view, this 370 article was a dead book. We have a border security act applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. We have so many articles there applicable to us. This was a dead book, but a respect to Kashmiris and emotions and sentiments were involved. The ma'am is saying, okay, I definitely appreciate her words also, but at the end of the day, what you have done to us? You can't give us a separate state. You are
satisfying the sentiments
Rajdeep,
of the Tamil people. You overturned the Supreme Court judgment which banned it, Jalkoti. But with regard to Jammu and Kashmir, you have brazenly. This is definitely a constitutional fraud.
We've experimented with autonomy.
Yes.
They could not keep it for 2 months. The Kabilis came from the border and massacred, and that is what led to the accession of India.
What about the
Hari Singh was forced to assess.
What about a recommendation by the Justice Sagir working report?
What about this is going to be a contentious, polarizing issue, and I hope that today is, as some are saying, the start of a new dawn, but I'm not sure it is. My take. By scrapping Article 370 and reorganizing Jammu and Kashmir into 2 union territories, the Modi government has taken a bold decision that could either be seen as a game changer or a misadventure, or perhaps both. Mr. Modi and Home Minister Shah have gone where no previous government, including Mr. Modi's previous NDA government, dared to tread. It reveals a risk-taking intent, which we have seen previously too with demonetization. Yes, abolition of 370 has long been on the BJP's manifesto, but the question is, was this a risk worth taking at this stage? The heavy-handed manner in which it was rammed through Parliament, even as curfew was imposed in the valley and Kashmir leaders arrested, suggests a unilateral approach to a vexed issue which has defeated solutions for decades and may only increase the alienation of the common people. Past history suggests that conflict resolution requires taking people along, not bulldozing them through state diktat. Previous approaches, be it dialogue or military approach, have not worked, which might explain the growing impatience with Pak-sponsored cross-border terror and the need to think out of the box. For the BJP, muscular nationalism could reap political rewards in the rest of the country. The question is, does the government really have a game plan for Kashmir, or is it shooting in the dark? We are entering an uncertain period where Kashmir could erupt into further violence or open up a new window of opportunity. Palestine or Shangri-La? Let's suspend judgment for now. Avoid the fear-mongering and wait to see what happens next in Kashmir's frozen turbulence. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.